Okay, I'm going to do a quick presentation on the psychology of political campaigns. This is really relevant right now because we're obviously in the middle of a presidential election. So because of that, I can assume that this is what most of your mailboxes look like right now. A lot of politicians are sending out mail in order to try and sway the way that we are voting. So they're either trying to make themselves look really good or they're trying to make their opponents look really bad. So in this presentation, I'm going to go over some of the most common methods used in trying to persuade people to vote for a certain candidate. So the first example is repetition. Repetition is used a lot in presidential campaigns. This is because it's effective. If you look at presidential campaigns, the biggest example is slogans. So Donald Trump's slogan is "Make America Great Again," or for this presidential election, it's "Keep America Great." However, it is widely seen as one of the most effective presidential slogans that we've ever seen because it's so widely used and widely known. They've done a lot to try and spread the slogan, which they've done this by making hats or making shirts or flags that say "Make America Great Again." And it's so intense to the point where sometimes you see a red hat and you automatically associate it with a "Make America Great Again" hat, which just shows how effective this slogan is, because we can associate something as simple as a hat with this presidential campaign. And then Joe Biden's slogan is "Build Back Better." And ever since he released that slogan, it's been attached to pretty much anything that Joe Biden is associated with. So if he does an interview, there's normally a flag in the background that says "Build Back Better." And this is the point of these slogans, is to try and convince people that this is what this candidate is going to do. So Trump wants his supporters and people who are undecided to think that he's going to make America great again, or now he's going to keep America great. Whereas Biden wants his supporters or undecided voters to think that he's going to build America back better. So they're kind of getting at the same point, but they're doing it in order to try and create a positive connotation with their names. Another technique used is emotional appeal. It's actually been shown that people are more likely to vote with their emotions instead of facts. So that's why we see a lot of emotionally driven commercials on TV during election season, is because if they were to sit up there and say what their plans are when they're president, it wouldn't be as effective as if they like attack people's emotions and try to evoke an emotional response through their commercial. So I'm going to show two different commercials, one from Joe Biden and one from Trump's campaigns. And so this is Joe Biden's. I'll play it first.
I want to make it absolutely clear. Rioting is not protesting. Looting is not protesting. It's lawlessness, plain and simple. And those who do it should be prosecuted. Fires are burning and we have a president who fans the flames. He can't stop the violence because for years he's fomented it. But his failure to call on his own supporters to stop acting as an armed militia in this country shows how weak he is. Violence will not bring change. It'll only bring destruction. It's wrong in every way. If I were president, my language would be less divisive. I'd be looking to lower the temperature in this country, not raise it. Donald Trump is determined to instill fear in America because Donald Trump adds fuel to every fire. This is not who we are. I believe we'll be guided by the words of Pope John Paul II, words drawn from the scriptures. Be not afraid. I'm Joe Biden, and I approve this message. I want to make it absolutely clear. Rioting is not protesting.
Okay, and so I'm going to play Donald Trump's ad now, except I wanted to preface it with the fact that there is false information in it. It says that Biden supports defunding the police, which he said multiple times he doesn't. And many news sources have claimed and said that this ad is not true. So I just wanted to say that before we watched it.
You have reached the 911 police emergency line. Due to defunding of the police department, we're sorry, but no one is here to take your call. If you're calling to report a rape, please press 1. To report a murder, press 2. To report a home invasion, press 3. For all other crimes, leave your name and number, and someone will get back to you. Our estimated wait time is currently 5 days. Goodbye.
I'm Donald J. Trump, and I approve this message.
Okay, so hopefully you can see that these commercials are based on the same events. They're both based on the riots that took place earlier in the year. And what they're aiming to do is they're aiming to try and get people to believe that the other candidate is going to put them in danger, whereas they will be the ones that will protect you and save you from all of this scary, all of these scary events that are happening in the world, which is really effective, and which is why they both used the riots as an example. Is it was a really uncertain time, and they're trying to make it seem like it's the other one's fault and that they are going to be like the fix for it. Another technique used is overestimation. It's seen a lot in political campaigns because they're trying to persuade a large amount of people to vote for them. So in order to do this, they need to overestimate what they've done in order to make themselves look better, or to make themselves look like they're going to serve a greater amount of people. So an example of overestimation in Trump is during the first presidential debate, when he said that he was responsible for lowering the price of insulin and that now insulin is as cheap as water. And first, that's not correct and an overestimation, because insulin is still more expensive than water. But also it's an overestimation because the president has no influence over drug prices. And the only reason that insulin prices have gone down is because of COVID-19, and because the drug companies are decreasing the prices in order to help people pay for their medications, because there's been such a financial burden from COVID-19. An example of overestimation in Joe Biden's campaign is when he said that he has always been voted as one of the most liberal people in Congress. And he's said this because one of his biggest critiques is that he's not liberal enough for the Democratic Party. And obviously he wants to get all of those votes, so he's going to make himself look more liberal. So he said this. However, after looking at all of his votes that he's made in the past, he's rated as more liberal than 75% of Congress, which means that he's definitely not one of the most liberal people in Congress. But he's, again, trying to make himself look more appealing to these groups. Same with Trump. They're simply trying to make themselves look like they've done more and that they are fighting for these different communities so that they get their votes. Okay, so cognitive dissonance is really big in presidential campaigns, because if a candidate comes out in your party and they support something that you don't necessarily support, but you want to support this candidate, it's hard to choose between which is more important, your beliefs or fully supporting this candidate. And a lot of times it can lead to people changing their own beliefs to match the candidate in order to get rid of this cognitive dissonance that's created. So a big example of this is impeachments. When Clinton was impeached, he was impeached for perjury and obstruction of justice. However, his followers did not decline very much. He lost some supporters, but the other ones claimed that he hadn't done anything wrong, and actually they gained support for him because there was this cognitive dissonance that the person that they supported would do something bad, which they didn't want. So instead, they changed their beliefs in order to fix that dissonance. And this happened again when Trump was impeached. Trump was impeached for abuse of power and obstruction of Congress. And a lot of his followers have not been impacted by this. They haven't changed their view of Trump at all because he was impeached. And this is because of cognitive dissonance. They don't believe that he did anything wrong, or they believe that it's fake news, and so they dismiss it. And this happens a lot with candidates. You don't agree with something they say, and you're faced with either admitting that this person doesn't fully match your beliefs, or you adapt your beliefs to fit them. And so I have both of the candidates' websites listed here. And if you go through the websites, you see what their plans are for when they hopefully are elected. And it's nearly impossible to agree with every single hope that each candidate has for when they become president. And it's really a battle between who do you align with more, or do you change your beliefs to fully support a candidate so that you're not supporting something that you find morally wrong or that you don't agree with. So this is really a big thing in campaigns, but it can be used to your advantage in the case of Trump's impeachment, because his followers have only gotten more secure in their decision to vote for him. So in an article about the psychology of being a Trump supporter, they discussed that people often support Trump because he simplifies politics. So whereas a lot of other politicians say a lot of things that they're going to do, but it doesn't necessarily make sense to your common person. And Trump does not do this. It's really rare for you to see an actual plan from Trump in debates. He often says that, oh, I have a really great team. We're going to take care of it. Believe me, I have a great plan. It's going to fix everything. However, he never goes into specifics. And this is simplifying the politics in order so people just blindly follow his confidence and they believe that, oh, he has a solution, I can trust him, which has been really successful for him because as you can see in the debates, he uses this as a technique a lot and people believe him mainly because of the confidence that he says it with. He's so confident in himself and that he's going to be able to do all these things that other people believe him as well. So with Biden, the psychology behind being a Biden supporter can largely be attributed to the bandwagon effect. So the bandwagon effect is seen when a lot of other people seem to be acting in one way. So you want to act in the same way so that you're not left out of it. And this is seen with Joe Biden during, before he was elected the Democratic nominee, because he wasn't necessarily the front runner to be the Democratic nominee. Bernie Sanders was actually predicted to win. And the votes were pretty evenly spaced out between candidates. However, when Biden won Super Tuesday, this small victory pointed everyone to the fact that he was probably going to be the Democratic nominee, and people started shifting their choice of candidates. And eventually, when each of the candidates dropped out of the race, these people who originally supported someone else had to decide who they wanted to vote for. And everyone was flocking towards Biden. So Biden gained a lot of support really quickly because of the bandwagon effect. And that explains why he's still so popular, is because these people have decided that they need to vote for him because largely because it's what everyone else who was in the same situation did. So this connects to normative social influence, which we've been talking about in class, because, and I've been talking about this throughout the video as mainly a two-party system, the Republican Party and the Democratic Party. However, there is a third party, except it's not common to hear someone say that they are a libertarian or that they're part of the Green Party. And it's not socially accepted necessarily because people say that you're wasting your vote. And so a lot of these people don't necessarily look at a third party as an option because it's not socially accepted, and you don't think that you'll be heard or accepted because of what you believe. So instead of looking for a party that matches your beliefs more than one of the two main parties, you simply go with one of the two main parties that matches your beliefs more. And this is seen a lot because it's rare to see someone say that they are voting for a third party. And that's why, because people want to be socially accepted. So they tend to go with the group that more of the people they associate themselves with associate with, which ends up creating this two-party system that we now have instead of having more candidates to choose from. And this is not an example from the current presidential campaign. It's a commercial that was used for George W. Bush's campaign in 2000. And I'm going to play it really quick, and I just want you to watch it and see if you see anything weird.
Under prescription drug prices have skyrocketed, and nothing's been done. George Bush has a plan. Add a prescription drug benefit to Medicare.
Every senior will have access to prescription drug benefits.
And Al Gore? Gore opposed bipartisan reform. He's pushing a big government plan that lets Washington bureaucrats interfere with what your doctors prescribe. The Gore prescription plan, bureaucrats decide. The Bush prescription plan, seniors choose.
Okay, so if you're anything like me, you probably didn't see anything the first time. However, this commercial uses subliminal messages. So you probably didn't see it, but the word rats flashes on the screen for about half a second during the text. So I'm going to play it one more time, and it's going to be slowed down so that you can really see the word rats show up.
He's pushing a big government plan that lets Washington bureaucrats interfere with what your doctors prescribe. The Gore prescription plan, bureaucrats decide. Bureaucrats.
So hopefully you can see it that time. A study done on whether or not this was effective or not proved that it actually was. The participants who had the word rats flashed on the screen for half a second rated the other candidate worse than if they had pretty much any other word. And this can be somewhat scary in political campaigns because while this is the only example that has been found in a political campaign, there still might be other ones out there. And the fact that this was so effective means that this subliminal message that's going through your unconscious is impacting how you view someone. So connecting it to what we're learning in class right now, I have three main points. And the first one is that politics thrives on persuasion. So that's literally what politics is trying to persuade people that you're the best candidate and that you will be the best option for them to make a better future. And that is also why political parties determine how they try to persuade people based on where you live. So they campaign more in swing states, and this is because it goes back to repetition. If you see a candidate in your town all the time, you think that you are really being seen, and instead of just being another person, oh, they really care about my town, and you're more likely to vote for them because you have more exposure to them. And it's also why they have more commercials in swing states, because they're trying to gain more votes and they're trying to persuade people to vote for them so that they will win. The second point is that politicians are constantly trying to change our attitudes towards them. And attitudes is something we focused on a lot in class. So everything that they do, their slogans are trying to create positive connotations with their name. And all of this is so that we will hopefully vote for them when the election comes. And the third point is that by holding rallies, politicians are using social influence to their advantage. So if you think about it, when a presidential candidate has a huge rally with a ton of people who are all flying like Trump flags or Biden flags, but not necessarily this year because of COVID, there's a whole group of people. that all share the same beliefs. And people in that town will see that this is happening and they'll want to be part of that group because they're making it look so fun. And oftentimes that can also persuade people, which is why it's so important for presidential candidates to go tour, because you want to make the connections with people in order to try and build your base so that your base can also persuade people to vote for you through social influence. So pretty much it's important to vote because all of these techniques that I've talked about so far is just trying to make it so that you will vote and that you will know who to vote for. So as a younger population, young people are never really shown in elections. We aren't represented because not very many young people go out to vote. So the hope is that this year more young people go out to vote and that we're actually represented in the election this year, because we are the future generation that's going to hopefully have a say in what happens. So the voting options at CSU, to make it really easy, is there's two options. There's a 24/7 ballot drop box outside of the LSC, and it's right by the transit center where you like pick up the buses. Another option is you can vote in person in the LSC North Ballroom, and this goes until the 31st from 8 a.m. until 5 p.m. and then Monday, November 2nd from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. as well as Tuesday, November 3rd, which is election day, so your last day to vote, from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. So just remember that these persuasion techniques mean nothing unless you vote and you actually use your voice to choose who you want to vote for. So that is the end of my presentation. I hope you guys are all staying warm and you have a great day.